I'm Heidi Hughes, Executive Director of Friends of Waterfront Seattle. Friends is a nonprofit that was established to be the partner with the City of Seattle to realize the new 26-block park on Seattle's central shoreline. Our sort of responsibilities fall into three buckets. We do a lot of education and outreach to the community. We're raising a big chunk of the capital money needed to build the park and to be the long-term steward, which means partner to the city to help with additional funding, programming, so that it is a welcoming, safe public space to all. I am the community liaison for the Waterfront and the LEAD program, and work closely with the LEAD project manager, and we together educate the neighborhood and all the residents and businesses about LEAD and how they can participate. The Seattle waterfront has been cut off from the rest of the city for a long time by an elevated highway known as the viaduct. The buildings basically face their backs to the waterfront. Even the closest neighborhood is called the West Edge, and it's almost 2 blocks off the waterfront because it's been a place that has a lot of failing infrastructure. The piers that used to host concerts are in disrepair and can't be permitted for public use anymore. And it's just a place where there's a lot of entrenched low-level street crime, drug dealing, open drug use. In the summer, there's a lot of people with tourists, and so you have a dynamic where there are tourists coming to enjoy family-friendly activities and a population that is engaged in a lot of activities that are not family-friendly. And the opportunity to think, what are the tools we need for that future waterfront? LEAD presented a great way for us to experiment now and have that infrastructure in place we need socially and on the sort of law enforcement front. Because what we have is a situation where a lot of the existing businesses, property owners are frustrated. A lot of finger pointing about social service agencies don't do their job, police doesn't do their job. Elected officials don't do their job, and looking at that, we really realize we don't really have all the tools in the right place to address the issues that we have with low-level street crime and mental illness, and just there's some vagrancy and other things on the waterfront, and it's not all law enforcement, but there's definitely a law enforcement element. And having LEAD has given us the tools to do some sorting necessary to figure out what is law enforcement, what is strictly a social service issue, and then some tools to address that. One of the really beautiful things about the way LEAD works is we have a LEAD-trained sergeant from the Seattle Police Force, Sergeant Rob Brown. And he is part of the regular bike patrol along the waterfront. And the system we have in place through input from a lot of businesses and residents in the neighborhood is I can take a picture of a situation, whether it's an encampment or somebody we see engaged in low-level drug dealing, and the police sergeant goes out and screens the individual or individuals for appropriateness for LEAD and is able to make referrals right there on the spot. And when social services are needed, there's engagement through the LEAD project manager immediately. And that has created a sense in the community that things are really happening, that it's responsive. And then through the LEAD operational work group, and we review the referrals on a bi-weekly basis, there's feedback to the community, which again is very transparent. People understand what's going on. And it also helps people to understand that things don't happen immediately. It takes a long time for people to get in a bad way on the street and be involved in low-level, prostitution, drug dealing, and it doesn't change overnight. And by having the LEAD social workers who are the same ones going out to encounter the people on a regular basis, it really is sincere and authentic to get people enrolled in the program at the right time. And the results aren't fast, but when the community knows that these things are happening, then they have a lot more patience. Before LEAD and the relationship with the project manager, we didn't have that one-on-one relationship with Sergeant Brown and his team. And while, some people saw the bike cops rolling through every now and then, there wasn't this back and forth and relationship. And now that we have this in place through our lead manager, we're able to communicate directly with Sergeant Brown and get some on-the-spot referrals, which has really changed the way we can handle low-level street crime. Another important tool that LEAD provides to the neighborhood is a LEAD project manager, who is a person who has gotten known among the businesses and residents, who attends neighborhood meetings, public safety meetings we have regularly in the neighborhood, so that there is a face that is known within the community from the LEAD program. That is helpful in terms of communication and just sort of understanding how the program works. Having that person interacting with the sergeant in our public safety meetings has been tremendously helpful on the neighborhood level, because people actually see the people behind the program and understand what's going on, and there's not this sort of big question mark about people are doing some things and we don't see what it is, because we actually have LEAD project managers in the neighborhood, boots on the ground. We go out and make personal calls to businesses and explain to their management how they can help, and get information to our LEAD trained sergeant for referrals, and to get to know the social service workers that are regulars in the neighborhood. One of the mind-blowing things about my experience in LEAD is attending the operational work group meetings, which is basically you've got, police officers, corrections, public defenders, prosecutors, social service workers, all around the table, state, county, city. And it is a very robust and frank conversation, because they all have a lot of different perspectives. As a community member, it is a way for me to see how the referrals are processed and dealt with and handled, and what progress is being made for the referrals from the waterfront. And just on a personal level, it's been pretty mind-blowing to see, kind of a big burly cop that you wouldn't expect to, have a lot of nice things to say about, your troublemakers on the street, really caring about how they get to services and get their lives turned around. And then there's times when, the police have, a little dig with a social service worker about being too lenient about certain things. And so that, to me, has shown that there is a real dedication to the LEAD process. From the perspective of a community member liaison with LEAD, having a LEAD program manager has been important to us. Not only do we need a face in the community that is, actually from the LEAD program, that has been very helpful to me. Also, the ability to have direct communication, contact with the Seattle Police Department, get screenings immediately, find out about other ways we can collaborate, participation in the LEAD operational meetings. So it's been a great resource for us to understand how we can really utilize LEAD in the neighborhood. LEAD has been effective because it's brought some tools aligned that we've never had on the waterfront before, which is the social service with the law enforcement and the regular LEAD project manager and community relationship on a regular basis. I think that's really been huge to create a situation where we have a lot of referrals. And there was a lot of skepticism, I would say, from some of the business owners, because they've been around a long time, they've seen it all, there's a lot of different programs out there, and in their minds initially LEAD was just another one. Since we have been engaged, I think a lot is happened through that personal engagement of the LEAD program manager and the LEAD trained sergeant. The business community have said this has been effective for us. We have the most referrals from the waterfront than any other area of the city right now. And that got a lot of people's attention. And I'm not saying that all the problems are solved by any stretch, but the level of engagement and the tools that we are able to bring has made a lot of difference. I would also say that LEAD is very good about communicating and collaborating with other programs. In Seattle, we have a business improvement district, the Metropolitan Improvement District, that has a social service outreach division. And sometimes we encounter particularly mentally ill individuals who are not appropriate LEAD referrals. And LEAD is very good about how we coordinate with the Business Improvement District to get that person to services through another program. So there's not any sort of turfiness about it. It's all about the people and trying to get results. And the coordination and collaboration has been kind of amazing to see, because you don't see that a lot across programs.